Hi, I'm Epokk from Minigame Guides, and this is my beginner guide for Spacebase Startopia. Now, the game actually has a tutorial in place to its campaign system, but honestly I do not like it because they just give you objectives and they don't really tell you how to do certain things that they're asking. So for that reason, this is just a beginning guide, just to give you a good lay of the land so you know what to expect when you're booting up the game. If you haven't bought it just yet, this may also be a good guide just to follow along and just see what the game is all about. But let's just jump right into it. So this is actually the sandbox, so the free-to-play version, and I'm just gonna start off by just placing. Let me just give you a tour of the base first, actually. So in the top left corner over here, you can see the entire base are 3 circles. So there are 3 different decks. So we have the Subdeck, the Fundeck, and we have the Biodeck. Now the Subdeck is basically where you have the living quarters, the medical quarters, and some machines, factories, and stuff like that. Well, the fun deck is just purely for entertainment, and that is just, with discos and arcades and stuff like that. And over here we have the Biodeck, which is basically just to farm certain resources. So these are going to be, for example, oxygen, minerals, fibers, medical, food, and stuff like that, all based on, the kinds of terraformers that we have going. So there are 9 different biomes. Now, certain biomes are only available to certain biomes, to certain aliens, and they can only farm that. So, and of course, in certain biomes you can only find specific minerals or fibers or medical stuff. So if you just hover over these things, then you will see what you can get. But basically just getting any resource is just as simple as just right clicking on these plants and just choosing the harvest. But once you have some aliens in your employment, then you can just let them do all that and don't really have to bother. But let's just jump to the subdeck and let's get started. Now we're going to go to the construction menu and we're going to be choosing a few things. First of all, we're going to make a bird. And our bird is basically living quarters. So these are going to be the showers, the beds, the stuff like that. What we will also need is a fuzzy charging station. So we're going to be placing that down because over here we have some fuzzies. Now these are our robots. These are the guys that do the menial work. So these are the construction types. They do the cleaning and do create some movement of the minerals and stuff like I just mentioned. Now at this time we can't build a lot because, as you can see, a lot of them is locked away by 3D lock. So as with most of these games, you kind of need to research these things, so basically unlock them. But first you need these currencies. So the purple currency is basically a currency that you get for each positive rating that you get from the aliens. There are a lot of people just enter this area, Starbase, and they're kind of like tourists. So they are gonna have some fun on the fun deck, for example, and then they're gonna leave. And in the meantime, you get some free energy, which is the currency to build stuff. And we're also going to get some purple currency just to get some unlocks going. Okay, so as we do not have a lot of buildings available right now, so including, for example, the garbage bots that we're going to be building in a second, what you can always do is you're going to be just looking at your fuzzies. You're going to click on them, right click on them, and you can turn off automatic mode. And you can just say, for example, you will only be doing extra construction or only cleaning or only movement of the crates, or 2 of those things. So this is just something you may really want to use, especially at the start. That way we can just, constantly have these guys doing the tasks that we want them to do. Automatically, they are not that smart, to be honest. They will just mainly focus on the construction stuff, and the cleaning they will probably never do. But let's be honest, they don't really need to do that all the time. So let's just go research this. So we're going to be placing our garbage bot. Now our garbage bot, what he's going to be doing, he's going to be collecting. He's going to be collecting all the garbage. Now, once again, this isn't a perfect system. His AI is not that smart, but he's clever enough. Now, what we want to be needing next is we're going to be using the recycler. Now, as you can see, certain buildings are all, kind of locked into certain packs. So we're going to be just buying this drifter pack and we're going to be unlocking the recycling station. Now, the recycling station, what that is going to basically do, that is going to make a lot of air pollution, but it's also quite needed because over here we can just recycle all the garbage that they leave behind them, and then we can just stuff it in there. Now, if you want to pick up the garbage manually because your bots are not really keeping up, as they are here because there is some vermin going on, so we can just click on these and they are gone. But mainly that is just to showcase that the garbage picking up is really bad at the moment. So over here we have one picking him up, but we can just help out by just holding down the left mouse button and we can just vacuum pretty much up everything. And once that, we're just gonna click on one, so that's purple, and then we're gonna just left click once again on the recycler, and suddenly he has some stuff. But the problem is we do not have any employees, so we're gonna be pressing on this button. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of different aliens. Now, pretty much, now the fuzzies are the robots, but all the other ones are all aliens. Now, what you will want to do is you're gonna pretty much want to have a lot of all of them at any time in your employment, because only Telgors can use a recycler, or only Brigatorians can use the communication, Dryads on the Biodeck and stuff like that. So you will want to hire quite a few of these. And honestly, not just if, for example, a recycler only asks for 4, but you will want to go a little bit overboard, because from experience I can say they have a hard time keeping up. So I'm just going to go for a lot of employees. Now, these employees will also be going after the Biodeck, so they are also going to be getting us some resources. Now, as you can see, certain things in the research need requirements to be unlocked. For example, this one cargohold that we want to get next, things created resource 3 out of 5. So what we just need to do is we need to come over here. We're going to right click on one of these and we're going to harvest them. And we can also vacuum all the crates up, and suddenly this is unlockable. We can also unlock the med station because we're going to need that in a second, and we're going to be just unlocking a little bit more of these things. We can just open doors by just right clicking on them and then spending some energy, and that way we have some more area to work with. Just simply right clicking on it, and we're going to open a bulkhead. Now, I just opened the left and the right at the same time, but in the future you will want to do this for the Fundeck also, and on the Biodeck the same thing. That way you always have like 1/4, because over here we have our elevators, and if you click on them, these elevators link to all the 3 floors. Now, if you open different ones, then each time they won't link together, and then the people can't get all up. They will all want to use the same elevator, and that way you're going to have some massive lines. Now, the cargo hold is pretty important because the factory, for example, that we still need to build, now he's always going to get his resources automatically from the storage. You never need to manually drag them over. So you can, but if you have any in your inventory down here, you can just drop them in here and he will vacuum them up, and he can just place them automatically in there. Okay, so I just built a factory after unlocking it through the research table. Now, actually, the factory is one of those more important buildings for the very simple reason that you can pretty much create anything you want to it. Now, first of all, you can create plastic and circuitry boards, which are going to be things that you will need for the more advanced buildings, recipes, making mechs for the security station and stuff like that. But you can also just build specific items to it. So if in case that you do not have any energy for whatever reason, then you can just build it through here if it's research at least. So a research lab, I haven't researched it just yet, but as you can see, I can build it once I have 4 minerals, 2 plastics and a research done. Same thing with Fundeck and other stuff. Now, over here, you can also create the fuzzies after researching them, so which is really, really great. Surveillance cameras, research things. Over here, we have the hats, which are basically just one of those things that will give you resources or just, you know, make the aliens happy, unhappy, whatever in a very short area. They're pretty much throwaway items. I don't use them that much, but it's something you can use if you want. Now, as you can see, there are some sick people over here in the medical bay. Now, there are a variety of reasons why they could be sick. This could be just random. This could be just because they have been going on the Biodeck, which is a place where you can get a lot of diseases growing. But often a reason behind this is that there is going to be a poor air quality. So what you want to do is you're just going to go to atmosphere quality over here, and you can see all the buildings that are unhealthy. So over here we have, for example, the recycler station, which is going to be very unhealthy for most people. But over here you can see I have, for example, my new factory. this one is not that good for the air quality. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be trying to improve this by just building an atmosphere filter. So we're just going to be placing one over here. And I'm probably going to build one over here later on when I have a few more buildings over here. I don't want that going in the way anyway. Now, by the way, if you ever have a building that's kind of in the way and it's already built, unlike this one, you can just right click on it and you can just deconstruct it. So deconstructed it is just gonna make it into a pack. Now you can just pick it up like that. If you want to just place it down wherever you want, you can just click the box over here. Now if Fuzzy is gonna see this, he's gonna pick it up and bring it to the storage. But before that happens, we're gonna right click on it, we're gonna unpack, and then you can just place it once again. Now you can do this with all buildings, but pretty much most of them, which is also really important for the research lab. Now at any time you will want to check your employee list. So we're just going to go up here and employees, and here you can just see all your employees. Now some of them are unhappy, for example, Cordesia over here. So what we can just do is we can just click on this little eye. We're going to see her, and then she's just going to show why there is a problem. Now the biodeck is being obliterated there by planticide, so we can just go check what that is, the garbage and stuff like that. Now we can just go see what the problems are. I don't see any problems, to be honest, but anyway. But what you also really want to do is you're going to be promoting them. So at one point when their XP bar is full, they're going to want to get some promotion, and they're just going to do their tasks a lot better when they're promoted. Now you can just press on each one of you want, but if you hold down the button, then you can promote all of your employees at the same time, and that way you don't have to go down the list. Just be sure to do this now and then, because before you know it, they will be pretty unhappy. Now you don't really need to be bothered that much with the people, their happiness, because if your tourists are happy, they will be happy as well. Now you can see pretty much right now we haven't done too much investments into our star base, but we already have 82% in happiness. And you know, if you want to see how happy they are, we can just click on this, and then we have the stating radius, and then we can just see what these things they want to see improved and which aren't bad for certain races, which are good for certain races and stuff like that. Okay, so one thing that I have to admit about Starbase Startopia is the animations are really well done. The character designs are really cool. These aliens look really cool. Over here they are eating some living kinds of chocolate bars or chocolate, like emoticon chocolate dispensers or stuff like that. Over here we have like a car wash, which is kind of serving as some kind of shower, which is really cool. Honestly, the animations are one of the best selling points of Starbase Startopia, and I don't know, I really like it. Actually, one of the most important things about the Fundeck is actually this is probably the best way to get some energy. Now, as you can see, I have pretty much built all the massive things that you need for some energy generation. So over here we have, let's start over here in the corner, we have our disco. So you can see our employees, they are the DJs, which is really cool. Over here we have the loot box lottery. Over here we have a vermin in a cafe with some kind of cats. We have like this dread drop, which is really cool because when the people go up, they kind of land down in a black hole. And we just have our arcade over here. Now, the disco is always the most popular for some reason. So if you have to choose between one of the buildings, or if you want to place a certain building more times, the disco is probably always the best one to take. The aliens pretty much go in masses over there. The cafe does also pretty well, but the disco is probably the best one. Now let me just quickly showcase how you can terraform the biodeck. Now what you basically just need to do is you're going to be pressing on this button. You're going to choose one of those that you really want. So let's go for example for the radioactive one. So we can just, you know, kind of paint like a paintbrush a specific area. And then certain aliens, they will just come by and they are just going to remove all the plants that do not belong in that specific type of biome, and then they're just going to remove that and they're going to plant the new ones, which is basically very simple. And once they have harvested, these boxes are going to just be dropping, and once the fuzzy is free, he's just going to come by, he's going to pick them up. I think he can carry up to 3 boxes at each time, and he can just bring them to the storage area in the subdeck. But we can also just hover our mouse by just holding the left mouse button, and we can just, kind of collect a lot of them really quickly. It's pretty much the most efficient part if you want to do it yourself. If you don't mind doing it yourself, and yeah, you can just go to this place over here, and you're just gonna go drop all these boxes really easily. Now, if anytime you have some cash to spend, you can just go to the VAL-Shop. Now, VAL-Shop is pretty much the robot who kinda, is your mentor in some way. Not a really good mentor because he doesn't explain anything, but anyway, you can just buy every 2-3 minutes a new kind of things. This kind of resets each time, and you can buy, for example, the heads that I talked about earlier, or just specific kinds of buildings or fuzzies or stuff like that. Now, as you can see over here, we already have a line forming for the tube lifts. Now I have 3 going at the same time, but only this one goes to the Fundeck because I haven't expanded the Fundeck just yet. But as you can see, there's already a line going on. And if you look at the atmosphere quality, over here we have this big red spot. Now I place one of the atmosphere quality over here, and the fuzzies are going to create in a moment, and that's going to improve it a lot. But this is still something we'll want to fix by, for example, placing a tube lift each time at each of these circles. Let's call them like that. Now, but we're gonna be expanding the bulkhead anyway because I have some of cash. Now, each time you go a little bit further, each time the price goes a little bit up. So over here it's gonna be 30,000, and over here exactly the same. So the more that you go further on, the more expensive it's gonna get. Now over here I also have the security station, and over here we have the brig. Now these two things kind of work hand in hand. So the security system, they are going to be sending out security drones, and those are basically just going to check all the decks, and they're going to try to find some criminals. Now in case you ever find a criminal yourself, or here you go, he already has found someone. 2 actually, because this is the brig, and the brig is actually pretty much a jail. So these people, they were criminals, and they were placed inside of the brig that way. Now they're getting rehabilitated, as you can see. But for example, if you right click on this guy, stupid security drones threw me in the brig, #criminal. So they did their job well. Now, if in case you ever find a criminal yourself, by just right clicking on them and just checking always. Let's go for these 3 lines over here. Now, if you just enter, they don't have any lines over here. Now, sometimes there will be #criminal, and if you see one of those, you can just go over here and click arrest, and that way one of the bots will just come over and arrest them. You can also kick them out but that will give you bad ratings, but that's an option if you find a criminal, but you haven't built the security system just yet. Now over here we also have the mech, so I quickly want to talk about that. So you can build one of 3 mechs. I already built this one using some of the resources built by the factory over here. Now the mech is basically a big, kind of offensive weapon. So you will find some space pirates, or you sometimes find some hostile aliens on the biodeck, so hostile plants, aliens, whatever you want to call them, and this guy can kill them. Now, but for that you will need a specific elevator if you want to bring him to another deck, and that is over here, the mech transporter right over here. Okay, so we have ourselves the research station over here. Now, this is one of the most important buildings that you can build, in my opinion, so you should always try to unlock this one as quickly as possible. Now, what you can do is you can upgrade your buildings through this. So you just need to research like we did before, just by clicking on one thing, like this, for example, having the requirements unlocked, and then you can just use the currency just to unlock it. But once you have already done that, you need to have a crate of the same building. So like I said, what you can do is you can just always right click on a building, you can just go deconstruct, and you're going to have this little pack. Now Fuzzy is going to place it in the storage in a second, but we're going to be placing it just immediately in the storage, because I want to show this. So once again, we're going to go to research, and let's say we want to upgrade the security station. It says security station crate required. So that means we need to have packed a building, deconstructed a building like I just did, and we need to have it in our storage. Now I just did that for the atmosphere filter, and suddenly over here we can research this. So this is completely free kinda. But what they will be doing is they are going to take the building that you just deconstructed and place it in storage. They're going to kind of use that as payment, resource, whatever, to get the upgrade going. But these upgrades can be really massive because, for example, the atmosphere filter is going to upgrade his area of effect. No vermin can spawn within the area of effect. That's massive. We can upgrade the movement, the capacity, and stuff like that of the garbage bots. The fuzzies, they can become upgraded, which is also really great. We can just take, for example, this guy. We're going to just place him in the back. We're going to just pick it up. We're going to place it in the storage. And we can just go research. And we can upgrade our fuzzies. And when they're done, we're going to have some better workers. This is a massive improvement of a lot of systems, and I actually have already built the bare necessities that you will need to just have a successful Starbase. So let me just showcase all the buildings that I have right here. Now you can upgrade further on to the resource tree, but basically this is already a great start. You don't really need much more than this to go further in any game. But let me just quickly show you what you have. And honestly, this is a blueprint for all the next levels. So over here we have how many floors in total? So we have 3, 6, so 12 floors in total for each deck. So you can basically just copy paste these 3 decks over here and just use them over and over and over again. So let's just start with the entrance. So over here we have an entrance. Between these 2 doors, I always have 1 tube lift for some max flow of the people. We don't have any lines. People are not getting annoyed and the ratings are good. We also have some storage capacity for all the resources from the Biodeck. We have over here the security system, which is going to catch criminals and keep people happy. The Brig is to rehabilitate the people. We have a factory just to get those resources that we really need. For example, the crafting of the mech. Now, the mech is also going to be a great resource for specific events when we have space pirates or whatever. Of course, over here we have, the bird, which is the living space. So for eating, showering and stuff like that, which is important. The fuzzy charging station to keep our workers going. Atmospheric filters all over the place to keep our keep the oxygen clean. Now I have a lot of them, but as you see with the research, we can just remove a few of those in no time. Now the communication systems, you only need 1 actually in theory, so you don't need more than that. You will need a lot of garbage bots to keep on top of the dirt. I still have some fuzzies helping with pickups, but you don't really need that. Over here we have the recycling station to use the garbage, place the garbage in there, and there it's going to give energy in return. Medical station is a must-have because otherwise your ratings are going to go way down and aliens are going to die and stuff like that. So I have another bird because you actually need a lot of them to keep the people happy. And of course, you only need 1 research station, and it's one of the most important buildings that you need to unlock as soon as possible. Now, in the Fundeck, I actually just opened the 2 other ones to have some max flow with the tube lifts, but you can expand a lot further and just make it a lot more pretty. But here we have all the buildings you can have. The disco is probably one of the most important one. You also need the Cath Cafe is going to also be one of the big ones. But yeah. And just once again over here you can see the atmospheric quality. So we have the loot box, whatever thingy over here. That is pretty bad for the environment, but you can just clean it up with some of the atmospheric cleaners. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know for Starbase Startopia to get a really great start. Now, if you have some more tips, just please share them in the comments down below. I will be reading them as I always do. But guys, I want to thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.